Well, we are approaching the end of 2023 and we're about to start 2024 here as the holidays approach. So I wanted to take a look at King Charles's chart to get an idea of what can we expect for 2024. What kind of opportunities and challenges are we going to see in the chart? And just look at the general astrological energies, since I know the royal family is of extreme interest, especially to my subscribers. So we're going to take a look at that today. For those of you that are new to my channel, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get all my videos. If you're interested in a personal private reading, check down below for details. And I am running a discount for November, and I'm going to be running a discount for the holidays as well. So make sure you check that out. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at King Charles' chart here. Let me pull that up. Quick disclaimer, of course, astrology is for entertainment purposes only. These are all allegedlys and speculative about King Charles. Okay, we're just making speculations here. Okay, so let's look at King Charles' chart here. I like to look at several things. There's a few transits I like to look at: Rahu, Ketu, where Saturn is. But I also am going to look at the Vimshatari Dasha, which in Vedic astrology, those that follow, Sage Parashara Vedic astrology, Vimshatari Dasha is going to be so important. So he's in a Jupiter Mahadasha right now, and he's in the Sun Bhukti. So that's really going to be the energies that we really want to take a look at. Jupiter's, that's the larger energy. He's in Jupiter till 2029. So that's the more generalized energy. And then he's going to be in this sun period. He started it in July of 2023. So fairly recently in astrology terms. And he's going to be ending this sun period. Let's see, May 17th, 2024. Oops, I should have put a 5 there. May 17th, 2024. So midway through the year, he's going to change bhuktis. He's going to go from sun to moon, and we'll talk about that. So let's talk about what's happening at the beginning of the year. He's going to be in the same bhukti as he is at the end of the year. So let's go explore that a little bit. Now, one thing to be aware of, Jupiter Mahadasha, you'll notice Jupiter's in the sixth house of King Charles's chart, and sixth house represents conflict, imbalance. He's going to have to watch out for his health. So health concerns is going to be definitely an issue. That's going to be an ongoing issue, all the way till at least 2029 in a generalized way. Okay. So health concerns, sixth house always can represent that. And then Jupiter there, remember, Jupiter is the planet that multiplies and expands things. So there can be some great difficulty there. I'm sure he has the best doctors in the world to help, though, with those situations. Also, children are going to be definitely on his mind. All of us are aware of the drama with Harry and William. So we know that that's kind of ongoing. He's very concerned about them being in a Jupiter period. That's not going to change. He's going to be concerned about them all the way, probably the rest of his life, obviously. But I mean, especially being in this Jupiter period, there's some concern there. Also, Jupiter rules the ninth house, and transiting Rahu's going through the ninth house. So we're going to talk about that too. Ninth house represents grandchildren. So there's also a focus on grandchildren. There's a lot of interpersonal relationships. So believe it or not, even though he's king, and we'll talk about the Sun Bhukti that he's in, but there is a lot of focus on family right now, if you take a look at the chart. So, I don't really understand what the day-to-day life is of a king. I'm sure he's got a lot of engagements, but other than that, when he's hanging out at Buckingham Palace, I'm sure that he's got a lot of, hanging out with different family members, the royal family, quite in his mind there. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the Sun Bhukti that he's in right now. Remember, he's in Sun Bhukti from July 2023 to May 2024. So, the first half of 2024 is still going to be very much influenced by Sun here. Notice that Sun rules the second house. Remember, we talked about that. There's a focus on family. So, second house, always remember that represents like your immediate family, the people around you. So definitely there's a focus on family. And with Saturn being there, there's even this like there could be problems in the family. Maybe I'm not sure, and you can comment down below. There could still be some concern about his relationship with Prince Harry and Meghan, but this definitely can indicate trouble. There's a lot of heavy karma coming out of there. Also, by the way, Saturn in the second house, and I know King Charles has a substantial estate, but Saturn in the second house can sometimes bring some sort of restrictions with money. Like like there's some sort of restriction put on the royal allowance or how much money is given to the royal family. Saturn in the second house can create um, somebody that likes to conserve resources quite a bit, and that's including money. So there could be this really strong push right now with King Charles to really tighten the purse strings around whatever the royal family is spending. That could definitely be happening here. We're in a cost of living crisis. I'm sure he's aware that a lot of people are finding it difficult to afford housing, afford food. So maybe he's kind of making the decision to like, hey, we got to tighten our belts around here. Now, I don't know how much they're going to tighten their belts, but as much as they can reasonably do. So that's definitely indicated. Also, interestingly enough, Saturn in the second house can represent problems with dental health. So there could be some dental issues over the next 8 months or so here as well. I have Saturn in the second house of my chart, and I've had considerable dental issues throughout my life. So that's an ongoing thing when you have Saturn in the second house. And the other point I want to bring, Sun is in the fourth house of his chart. So there is this idea of leadership. It's with K2 and Mercury. I do feel like King Charles was connected to royal families in his past lives because of this Sun and K2. It shows that he's had past lives, in royal families. So he's pretty well aware of how to behave, how to act. This isn't his first rodeo. When we look at if somebody was like, if it was their first lifetime in a royal family, we would typically see Rahu with Sun, or we'd see something like that. But it's with K2. So K2 shows there's some familiarity there. Also, there's some strong intelligence there. Sun and Mercury there form something called Aditya Yoga, very much intelligence. But the focus on his mind, besides the second house, which we have to look at what Sun rules, we also have to look at where Sun is in the chart. There is a thoughts of the past, particularly his mother. That's definitely being thought about because the fourth house represents your mother. And K2 can represent even the past. So there's definitely a lot of thoughts going on. But again, the fourth house is domestic concerns. So it could be thinking of the concerns of his country, United Kingdom, or could even be thinking about, again, tightening the purse strings, being focused on the royal family, Buckingham Palace, the properties, all these things that he's got to manage. There is some domestic concerns there. The focus is there. He might not travel as much internationally during this period because of this pull towards the fourth house, and fourth house represents homeland. Now, this is the perspective of King Charles when we're looking at a chart, but because he's in a leadership position, and I know some people might say it's more of a symbolic leadership position, but he's got a lot of pull okay. Well, Sun and K2 in the fourth house could represent some sort of losses happening in the homeland. So losses, it's a real struggle in the homeland, okay? So things are quite tight right now. Things are not easy. We got that Saturn aspect on the fourth house as well. There's a lot of criticism. So there might be a lot of people out there criticizing the royal family, a lot of people, royalists out there. So this is a little bit of a difficult time. He's kind of focused on family, maybe getting settled in as king, focused on homeland, not necessarily focused as much on foreign or international concerns. There's also going to be a focus if we look at the moon chart over here. It's also important to look at the moon chart and the Navamsha. But I wanted to focus on the moon chart over here. There's also a focus on the marriage. And what K2 can do with, because K2's in the seventh house for moon, is there can be something like maybe he has so many responsibilities being the king now, there could be this lack of attention to Camilla. So that's something to think about. Okay, so he's got to watch that he might be so wrapped up in what he's doing that there's kind of like K2 kind of can represent an apathy or a lack of attention. So your spouse may feel like they're not getting as much attention as they normally would have received in the past. And so there can create a sense of distancing there. Now, I don't predict anything's going to happen. I just feel like there's an emotional sense of maybe we get caught up so much in duties, especially with the Saturn being activated, because Sun is activating the second house with Sun ruling the second house. There could be this, we're so devoted to our duties that we're forgetting how it was to be in love, to be romantic, all those things about when they first met. And so we're all becoming like strictly business, which can happen. I mean, if you're in an important leadership position, in a company, in a country, I'm sure you get so focused on the leadership duties that your spouse, for better or worse, kind of has to be more just supportive of what's happening. But it is important to still make those extra efforts as well to try to make the relationship work. Like I said, I don't sense anything bad's happening there in the relationship. I just sense there could be a little bit of like a lack of attention that's happening right now. Now, midway through 2024, I do want to say he's going to focus, he's going to switch from sun to moon. So he's going to switch to, this is going to be May of 2024. He's going to enter the moon period. I feel like this is what I feel like. Because moon is so associated with leadership in King Charles's chart, it's in the 10th house with Rahu, and it also rules his first house because he's a Cancer ascendant. I feel like over the next 8 months, and I've been seeing this in a lot of charts, I feel like there's going to be an emergency, a global emergency of some sort. And this could be playing out while he's in his Sun Bhukti, because I see Sun with K2. That's the biggest tell that I see there is the Sun with K2. And then we can even notice like K2's in the fourth house of his Navamsa chart. So what I was going to say is there is a sense of difficulty in homeland. There could be a crisis. And then midway through 2024, he's really stepping into being a role modeling energy, because Moon in the 10th house is like, okay, I'm really having some like leadership responsibilities, and I'm really being that moral support that people need, because this is totally all about the self and leadership. So I feel like there could be, in response to a situation that arises in late 2023 and early 2024, it could be a series of crises that happen. And so he's really stepping in that role modeling energy. Okay. And especially, Moon. So people are going to be looking up to him, excuse me, for that leadership. So that's what I see with what's happening there with Moon. But I also feel like he's going to feel quite at home in that role with the leadership. Okay, so that's quite interesting. So he might actually be thrust into the spotlight. For example, I think even when there's been like wars in the past, the royal family is very much involved in giving like addresses, like to comfort the nation and to comfort people, let people know like we're in this together, keep calm and carry on. So I think that's quite normal. And I feel like something like that may be happening, May 2024. He's stepping into more of this role of like trying to represent the nation and so forth. Also, I did want to point this out. I didn't point this out yet. Um, Saturn's in the eighth house. So there is some sort of idea, there's a response to some sort of emergency conditions. Okay. Saturn's trying to keep order to these emergency, because the eighth house represents emergency conditions. Remember, this transit of Saturn going through the eighth house is going to be all of 2024, all the way till March of 2025. The Rahu transit that just started October 30th, that's going to be all of 2024 as well. We'll talk about that for a minute. So the Rahu transit going through 2024, I find that quite interesting because ninth house represents religion. It represents being a teacher, gurus, religions. I feel like he's also really going to step into this role of, and I know when you're the monarch, you're essentially the head of the Church of England. So I feel like he's really going to embody that role more. And maybe as he gets older, this is just speculation, but maybe he's getting, as he gets older, he's getting more religious. He's becoming more, Saturn in the second house can create somebody that's a little bit pious, somebody that maybe they start returning to traditional values. So we might very much see that during the next year, he's really trying to embody these traditional values. Although I do feel like he is trying to modernize the royal family and modernize probably the Church of England too, with just becoming more inclusive and accepting and everything. But I do feel like there's going to be a return to values, and especially if there's a crisis that I see arising here at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, there could be this idea of offering this moral leadership to the nation. Okay, because when people are in really tough times, whether it be economically or warfare, there is this idea of having somebody come to you or be a representative of faith. Okay, so even in Vedic astrology, no matter what religion we're looking at, whether it be Hinduism, Buddhism, or if we're looking at the Church of England, there is this idea of faith is so important for the soul to really move forward and have that hope and that optimism in life. So, especially when we're going through difficulty, we really latch on to our faith and our beliefs to help be that compass or that anchor that helps steady us in troubled times. So that's what I feel like he's going to really more embody that role more fully. So there might be a lot more functions with that. He might even be a little more religious. Maybe in private, he's picking up his Bible a little more or reading different things that are philosophy or religious texts. So that's something to think about as well. That's quite interesting. Well, that's what I got going. I do feel like there is a global emergency that's approaching, and I do feel like he's going to be called to more of a leadership role. But also, like I said in the reading, there is a focus on family. There's a focus on family and also providing leadership for the nation as well. By the way, Rahu in the ninth house also represents a focus on grandchildren, a really strong focus, because Rahu can create a desire to really be involved in the grandchildren's lives. So that's something to think about as well. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Take care of yourselves until the next video.